If vsauce has done anything, it has given to young people a certain level of curiosity. The three of y'all are the reason I even got into this.
Is it a more real thing to your dad now than college was?
Their associates send them videos. This kid is so smart. You should check him out. And it's me, their child. I remember the first time I downloaded TikTok was the first time ever in my life that I felt old. I got on it and I'm like, what the are these kids doing?
How do you take a topic that's so big, something like democracy, something like gender, and come up with 4 minutes that's useful about it?
Most of the oppressive forces in this world, it's really because they have a lack of understanding. And if I can use my gift of synthesis to broaden understanding, then hopefully that will broaden empathy and thus create a better and more functional world.
Hey, welcome to The Great Unknown, the home of Make Something Mean Something. It is TCU's Day. We are here live on Discord every single Tuesday, 6 p.m. Eastern. We're still kind of getting over or working through this COVID stuff. You know, I feel lucky to even be awake right now because it's been intermittent. My consciousness has been intermittent. I'm Kevin Lieber, and with me, as always, is Matthew Tabor.
Yeah, it's like every 2 hours we alternate. The first hour you take a Benadryl. The second hour you just take like a big gulp of NyQuil. And you just do that all day long. That's what this is. That's what this is about. But we've managed to come back. We're back on the schedule. And I looked today and we have like 7 guests booked out, don't we?
We do. We have a great summer of guests kicking things off next week with the one and only Psychic Pebbles, returning once again for, I believe, his 4th appearance on TCU. So that is big one. Make sure you are here for the recording next Tuesday. But our summer of TCU guests kicks off with our guest tonight.
That's right. And right now. And we talk about a lot of old things like the beginning of YouTube and what VidCon used to be like, and decades of creative work through 5 1/4-inch floppies and cameras that used actual tape. We like to think it's part of the unique charm of this podcast. We've seen it all, and we continue to see more. Like Charity Croff, who exemplifies the next wave of creators on all the platforms that we've been talking about over the last 3 years. Charity's got a hint of Michael Stevens in that he asks the big questions in densely packed videos that paradoxically would be as relevant 2,000 years ago as they are right now. Does democracy really exist? Are you rich or are you a slave? Are men and women equal? Charity blends information with entertainment fueled by an infectious energy that is at the heart of the Genius Factory. That's definitely one of the best Patreon names we've ever come across. But that's what Charity's about, drawing the genius out of you. He described his philosophy better than we can when he said, knowledge is infinite, love is infinite. Thus they have both fallen infinitely upon me. It is my duty to spread them both infinitely. He does that on TikTok, YouTube, and in his original music. We did an entire episode on networking and how to do it, but it turns out that the best way to meet creators is to be trapped in a van with them. Charity, can you confirm or deny that?
We were trapped in a van, certainly. Yes. It was not as horror movie as it sounds, but, you know, it was like minor suspense thriller, certainly.
We should have made it. We should have made it high stakes in some way.
Yeah, somebody would have had to die in the van. Then it would have been like a whodunit, and that definitely would have been Kevin, for sure.
Yeah, it definitely would have been.
That's what we should have. Kevin should have died. There were the
not that Kevin should have died. Kevin would have been the killer of the person that died.
I suppose we could have killed the driver. I mean,
the driver seemed nice. They didn't have nothing to do with it.
Then we would have crashed, and then we all would have died. It would have been over very quickly.
It had to be something less high stakes, like a hamster died in the car, and who killed said hamster?
Oh, yeah. Then it's like a Saved by the Bell episode all of a sudden. It's so funny because we mentioned, we were back last week for the first time because we missed a week because Matt and I got COVID at VidCon. So we missed a week after VidCon. We came back last week and we talked a little bit about the vans, the shuttles that you have to get in and creators have to use in order to get back and forth between the convention and their hotels and stuff like that. And it was such a funny moment for me because like I explained in our podcast last week, you get mixed in with people who you don't expect. It's not like a group of you go together and you hop in a car. It's like, okay, you two, is there room for one more? Pop in. There was room for one more.
Like a theme park ride. Like getting in a line at a theme park ride.
Literally was thrown in there last minute.
It is. So we're in our roller coaster car and you get thrown in at the last minute, and then I'll essentially just throw to you and let you talk about sort of what happened next, which was very funny.
And I'm like, vsauce, and he's like, what up, bro? He wasn't in normal vsauce, like, hey guys. He wasn't in that energy. He was in super like, what's good with you, folk? Like he was a G when I walked in there, and I'm with that. So yeah, I got in there, and yeah, I told him that him and Michael, and as much as it hurts my feelings, I'm forgetting the other member of vsauce's name, and his videos are exquisite, and I hate that I'm forgetting his name. What is his name?
Jake.
Vsauce. Jake. Oh, yes. Jake is amazing. His production value on his videos is insanity. But yeah, though, anyway, I was just telling Kevin, just like, wow, like, the three of y'all are the reason I even got into this, and Hank and John Green. Yeah, I may have not have told you in this much. Actually, side note, before I get into this story, Matt, thank you so much for that introduction. Most people tend to like ask you to send like a bio over or some shit, and then they just read what you say about yourself. But I love that.
Those are lazy people.
That's lazy, isn't it?
If a podcast asks you to do that, they're asking you to do the heavy lifting. Immediately cancel. And then like send their shit to the spam folder. Like put one of the email filters on so you never hear from them again. But no, like if somebody can't give you like 90 seconds before talking to you for an hour, what are they even doing?
Yeah, and not even giving me 90 seconds as far as like that, but as far as the fact that in order for you to create that 90 seconds, it required you to delve into my content in some way or form. And I think that that's a beautiful thing, and I appreciate that. But yeah, cool, so I saw Kevin in the van, and I was just like, I wouldn't even be doing this if it wasn't for you. And then for me, it's a very surreal moment to be put in the same Suburban as you. It's just like, oh, I am next to a person that I idolized for so long. And like, again, the voice and the way in which y'all created y'all work, it lended towards my voice, my curiosity. One of my favorite quotes is a quote by Albert Einstein. He says, I wouldn't consider myself particularly genius, just passionately curious. And if vsauce has done anything, it has given to young people a certain level of curiosity, that as well as the Vlog Brothers. And y'all are all the OG YouTubers. And yeah, so my first ever video was literally just swagger jacking the vsauce style. And it was a video literally called, Is There a God? And the whole concept was scientifically proving the existence of God in less than 5 minutes using like, a bunch of science nerdy stuff. And I posted that video when I had 526 followers, randomly posted it on, this is before Instagram, on Facebook, and it got 1 million views in a week. And that began the trajectory of my career. So I can say with no gas, with no hyperbole, with no exaggeration, that I literally would not be here if it weren't for you, Kevin, and I'm grateful for you. That blew me away. The whole experience really blew me away. That's why I really wanted to have you on here to hear more about your story, honestly, because in that Suburban, we only had a couple of minutes really to chat. And I would love to hear more about sort of what you were doing before you got so interested in creating online videos yourself. And, it's been a few years now. So 5 years now. So sort of like what your journey has been since then, to running into each other in a car at VidCon. What's interesting, and I love this part of my story, is that it started with depression. So I went to 2 different colleges. So long story short, I've been to 3 colleges. I got kicked out of 2 and dropped out of the 3rd. So me in college has never fit. And recently, within the last 2 years of my life, I learned the term autodidact. And I'm sure y'all are already very familiar with said term. And that is who I am. So long story short, when I got kicked out of the first college, I have a particularly hyper masculine, I would say, father. I love him dearly, but he's very like, a man is supposed to be blah, 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 blah. And as a result of that, when I got kicked out of college, to him, it was like, well, what's your value in this world? You're not working, you're not in college, you're not making yourself better. So he would speak to me in ways that honestly just made me feel like a failure. And my mother kind of did the same too. And then, of course, my own concepts of what manhood is, what success was. Long story short, I fell into a deep, deep, deep depression after my first college. And in order to essentially distract myself from my terrible thoughts and ideations that I had in my brain, I would just distract myself with YouTube videos. And then I stumbled upon you guys. And it was something out of my grim and dreary days that gave me some excitement. And I was just like, wow, this is interesting. And then I just started nerding out on YouTube videos. And then I discovered the concept of The Secret and law of attraction and manifestation, and the idea that you can create you can create your existence to a certain degree if you just begin to think in line of what you want rather than being swallowed in all of the fear and the chaos and the terrible things about what you currently are and how your life currently looks. And then I learned about quantum physics through Michael and all of these things that align with the law of attraction and what is the universe and all of these things. And then that honestly gave me just an energy and a spirit and a joy, and literally kind of helped move me out of depression. And then once I finally had gotten the understanding of all of these kind of scientific, spiritual truths, I'd say somewhere on the intersection between science and spirit. And then there's another quote, I think it's about Tesla, and it might not be about Tesla, but I think it's about Tesla. It says that technology fairly advanced enough cannot be distinguished from divinity. And this concept that there's this fine line between the scientific and the spiritual. And all of you all break that down so well. And that kind of made me into a new person. And then I was just like, you know what? I could make one of these videos just on some random bored shit. 1 million views. Crazy. Changed my whole life. Crazy. At this point, it's like 150 million views later, 200 million views. I've lost count.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I'm glad that you brought up sort of the wellness aspect of things, because it's sort of what we like to talk about a lot on this podcast, is setting up creators to be successful and sort of the scenarios around. I mean, look, we spent a while talking about this glass pitcher idea. I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago. I don't remember. Where essentially, when it comes to creative energy, each day you start with a full pitcher of water, the water being the creative energy, and then throughout the day, different things happen to kind of diminish how much is in your pitcher. And it's really important to be able to contextualize things that way. And also, I think it's really important to recognize that in order to get, like, it sounds so cliche, but in order to get things, you really have to give things. And that's a big part of what I like to sort of preach, for lack of a better term, on this podcast, is like, that's what makes something mean something is, which is the catchphrase we use for the create unknown. It's like, in order to mean something, there are many ways you can go about meaning something, but one of them, and this pathway is really aligned with creative people, is to make things, to create things,
Absolutely.
to share yourself with other people, and no matter what sort of interests you have, or what skill level you're currently at, or what skill level you'll eventually be at, there's always a place for it, and there's always someone out there who will be affected by it, and you never know who that is. But I think that everyone should recognize that that person is there. They're out there. and their life will be better for you sharing yourself with them.
That's a fact.
Put down your can of Hyper Hydro Monster and your Crimson Berry White Claw. It's time to rethink the beverages in your life. We drink a tremendous amount of tea, working on videos, recording the podcast, but we don't drink normie NPC tea. We drink cultured and refined anime tea from the Dragon's Treasure. They've got a gunpowder green tea called Space Cowboy. If you've listened to this podcast before, you know why Kevin likes it. And I used to chew gunpowder green tea leaves when I played baseball in the 90s. I love the stuff. Dragonwell Z, Samurai Chai Plu, black teas, herbals. The Dragon's Treasure describes itself as a haven for anime and tea lovers for a reason. They've even got a tea called Uwu. It's got apple bits and cocoa nibs. It's crazy. I bought the 60 tea sampler pack as soon as I could. I wanted to try everything. It's that good. And when you order from the Dragon's Treasure using the code CREATE, you'll get 10% off your order. That's 10% off using the code CREATE at thedragonstreasure.com. The link's in the description. Look, find me another place that sells Russian caravan tea with a name like, "And then everything changed when the Fire Nation attacked." You can't. TheDragon'sTreasure.com, 10% off when you enter the code CREATE at checkout. The link's in the description below. Get brewing, Space Cowboys.
Yes.
I got a question for you real quick. Now that you've shown how good you are at all of this and the impact with, like you said, 150 million views, whatever. Is it a more real thing to your dad now than college was? Like, has that gotten any better?
Oh no, it's so much better. And that I used to have a certain level of resentment for that. I don't know how into hip hop y'all are, but it's this Rick Ross quote. And it was just like, you wasn't with me shooting in the gym. And that whole concept is about like, when he said you wasn't with me shooting in the gym, I think he was doing like a Kobe Bryant metaphor about like, people love to get around you when it's championship and you don't want a championship, but they wasn't with you in the practice shooting the shots when you wasn't nobody. Now, again, this is my parents. These are my parents. And really, they just want the best for me. That's what parents want. Sure. And we as creatives have to understand that oftentimes our vision isn't for our parents. They can't see that. They don't even have the wherewithal or the capacity to see what we can see. Their brains kind of don't work. And I'm not saying that from a hierarchical standpoint, but just like they just have different minds. Saying that to
they're not familiar with it.
They're not familiar with it. So me being a kid, my parents are both in their mid to late 60s, right? So the concept of their child becoming successful on the internet is like, get a job. You dig what I'm saying? It's like what they're on. You dig what I'm saying? Like, for real.
Yeah.
And so
I can see the college thing. They look at that and think, okay, this is the avenue
this is the
that
way
you've got to take.
This is the
this
avenue that
has
works.
shut down.
Absolutely.
Now there's no avenue. And
so what are you
Kevin,
doing?
was it Gus Johnson? Was it Gus Johnson's grandmother who wrote him a letter begging him to quit? Was that Gus?
William Osmond's grandmother. Yeah.
Oh, William Osmond. That's right. Oh,
wrote him a letter begging him to quit YouTube and to stay in engineering school. I think it was.
Wow.
Right. Yeah, and it's like, I know it's awkward to talk about, but the reality is they are familiar with a different system than what is available now.
Absolutely.
And it's I know it's something that a lot of people, like I've had conversations, I'm not going to call anybody out in the Discord, but I've had conversations with patrons, people in our community. This is really common where somebody wants to do music or YouTube or animation, and their parents are like, no, this is not the way you do anything. And it's out of concern. I'm so happy that you said that they love you and want the best for you, rather than it being like this cruel, hammer smack. They really do want these good things, just like William Osmond's grandmother did. But wow, is it hard? And you must have plowed through it. You must have done it anyway.
Oh, to answer your question, I didn't even answer your question. My bad. But to answer your question, now their friends send the videos. Or not even their friends, like their associates. Here's the best thing. Their associates send them videos like, this kid is so smart. You should check him out. and it's me, their child. You dig what I'm saying? And that happens all the time now. Like random people send them videos of me. You'd love this kid. And so now it's completely a viable thing. And I just moved to LA and they see that it is successful and it is lucrative and all of the things. So I'm not dead. I'm surviving and I'm thriving, and they're proud of that now. But it took them a while. They had to see the evidence, to be frank, in terms of monetary stability. Yeah.
Right.
Just to be frank.
That makes it real to them. I mean, it makes it real to anybody. You know, whenever there's some sort of mainstream report of an online creator, it's always just how much money they make. There's nothing that ever gets talked about otherwise, because money is the language that people who don't understand the language of being an online creator, well, they understand money. So when you run an article that Mr. Beast makes X amount of dollars a year, people are like, "Oh, wow, I understand that."
I should give me a YouTube channel. Is where they go for now, because they look at it as a hustle.
Yeah, but you alluded to something I wanted to follow up on. Are your parents not creative people? Are you like an outlier in your family with your creative output?
Certainly an outlier in my family. Also, I'd say that there is just something, and not to make this a racial thing, but there is a certain thing about Black people where we are a creative culture. So they love the arts, right? But are they makers of the arts? No, but they are absolutely deeply fond of creativity, but they aren't creatives themselves, no. But they love music, they love thinking, they love knowledge, they love all of the things, but they were raised in this structure, in this matrix, if you will, of go to work, pay your bills, have a vacation every now and then, and raise a family, have a house, and die.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I mean, I don't mean that. I swear I don't mean that from a hierarchical standpoint, but that is what they imagine life should be. And for creatives, it isn't really the thing. So I wouldn't call them creatives, no.
Yeah. Yeah. That's something that I want to start asking our guests regularly. I don't know why I haven't, because it is something that's really interesting to me. Because like in my family, my father is extremely creative. Like he is pretty much as creative as that word gets. Yeah.
I don't think I know another adult like in my real life who I would label creative more than your dad.
Word. That's so cool. Now, interestingly enough, my father can draw super well. He taught me how to draw. Yeah, so again, he is creative. He's not a creator. And I would say that there's a distinction there. Like, he can draw really well. He's the first person that even taught me like how to play the piano. Like, he wrote like the letters of each note on them so I can remember the notes. Like, he brought me into so much things. My sisters, who raised me into music and made me love it. All of these people in my family, my sister dances, my mother is great at interior design. My family is very creative, but a creator is someone who sees themselves as, this is, not only is this a thing that I enjoy, but it is a thing that I must, there's almost an undertone of becoming. There's an undercurrent of like, this is purpose for me. Who am I if I do not create? I think that is the distinguishing factor between a creator and someone who is very creative. All of my family is creative.
Yeah. No, it is the bug. It is the bug. It is the disease. I call it the disease sometimes because you find it in almost everybody that we talk to is exactly what you're talking about. It's that like you get itchy. Almost. You get like spiritually itchy if you're not making things.
Spiritually itchy. It's so perfect. That is so right. But my God, what a horrible thing. But it's exactly
true.
That.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so true. Well, Charity, I want to get kind of more specific with you and your content. One of the things that I noticed that so we were at VidCon. It was a total like TikTok takeover this year, which was very, very different than past years. So that was really interesting for Matt and I because, we have vsauce 2 TikTok, but we're not TikTok like people. We're YouTubers, first and foremost. That's what we know. I've noticed on your channel that you haven't uploaded to YouTube in about 4 months or so. But you're going strong on TikTok. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on the different platforms, your outlook on kind of like where you see your content thriving. And also, one of the things that we came across at VidCon was a lot of TikTokers looking to get into YouTube. But it seems like you've decided to almost go the other way and focus more on TikTok. So lay it on us. What do you think about the state of these platforms?
I have a lot of thoughts about this. So here are my thoughts. So here's the thing. I started doing more long form videos again, a la all of the work that you all have done. So I did like 5 minute, 4 minute, 6 minute, 7 minute videos, really diving and delving deep into the stuff. And I primarily was doing it on Facebook because again, the distinguishing factor between YouTube and everything else is because YouTube is a search engine and everything else is a social media. Meaning on YouTube, I have to actively go look for some shit unless it's recommended to me. And on every other social media, it is served up to me and it is recommended to me by my friends. And so there's a certain exponential growth that is available via social media that just isn't available on YouTube. YouTube is just about consistency. I got to post every day until gradually. Now, it might have been in the early, now again, you're OG, so maybe in the early days when everybody took YouTube links and shared them on Twitter or YouTube links and shared them on Facebook or MySpace, then maybe there was that shareability growth factor. But again, when these companies came out, Facebook, if you share a video, a link to a YouTube video on Facebook, it literally shows almost never in the algorithm because it doesn't want people to leave out of the Facebook website. We know this is just how, because these platforms are based on keeping people on the website. That being the case, I started off uploading my long form videos natively to Facebook. And in 2015, when I started, like I got the chills. If I can say one regret I have in life is that I didn't go hard enough in 2016. It was the greatest. As far as social media algorithms are concerned, it was the greatest algorithm in the history of time was 2016 Facebook. Like every video that I posted was getting like 15 million views and like 70,000 shares, like stuff that's like literally unthinkable currently. And if I would have knew now that was something that was a limited resource that was going to go away, I'd have posted every fucking day. You dig what I'm saying? But I wasn't aware. You just feel like, oh, this is just natural. So I'll do another video in a month or so thinking this is never going to go away. So I was doing like 2 videos a month when really I should have been doing 2 videos a day with that type of algorithm. Long story short, that exponential growth started there. Since the advent of TikTok, and I would even give, honorable mention to Vine and some of the predecessors that kind of started the short form content. When TikTok really turned up like it did and everybody's just like, oh shit. I remember the first time I downloaded TikTok was the first time ever in my life that I felt old. I have never felt old before. I have never felt old before. I got on it and I'm like, what the fuck are these kids doing? And why do I want to watch someone do this and they get 10 million views? And it's just like, and it's 7 seconds of nothingness. And so it kind of was scary for me at first when I first got on the TikTok. This like 2018, 2019. It was scary for me because it was just like, how do I transition to this short form thing? And so life just kind of just went. And then one day I was about to tweet something. This was a day where like a trans person had got like assaulted and beat up. And then like all the commentary on the internet was just like, I would never hurt a trans person, but that's still not a woman, or a bunch of stuff like that. And then I was
when the butt comes into those statements, it always goes badly, doesn't it?
You see what I'm saying? So that situation happened, and I was about to make a tweet about it. Mm-hmm. But instead of making a tweet, I was just like, well, this is a little short, quick statement that I can say. Maybe I can do a video. And I was like, quick public service announcement. I know that you think that you're helping trans people, or I said something like this, but actually you speaking negatively against them is leading towards some death or whatever I said. It's perpetuating the violence against them. I said something like that, but I said it in like a short form little 11-second thing. And it got like 300,000 views, which again is nothing compared to that older Facebook algorithm, but still, this is before that.
It's a lot of people.
That was crazy for me on TikTok. And I was just like, oh, I found a way to do something that still is of value. Because I guess that was the scary thing, was that you feel like in this short form video, and I'm going back to your question. I know I'm going real tangential, but I'm going back to your initial question, Kevin. But you feel like making something short almost like sucks out the meat of actually something of value. And then I figured out, well, no, there is a way to say something valuable in 30 seconds or less. And so I started really getting into that. And then essentially Facebook and Instagram and everybody else realized that TikTok was the thing. And so now the algorithm doesn't support long form video at all. And so now you're basically forced to do reels if you want any type of reach at all on social media. You're forced to do short form content, which is now, to answer your question, Kevin, sending people back to YouTube because people miss hearing something at length. And it's just like, you're just not getting that on social media anymore. Again, when Facebook video was happening in 2016, we were watching a 9-10 minute video on Facebook. Now that's just not happening because it is a necessity for them to compete with TikTok and all of this short form creation. So saying that to be said, I think that TikTok is here for our exponential reach and for growth, but I think depth, which is just as valuable as width, right? Width, how many people know you, but depth, how they feel about you. I think that community thing is something that really only still exists on YouTube in that way. Like, I've built quite a community on Instagram, but I would say that if we were to give like a value to each social media, I would say like TikTok is silver, Instagram is gold, but I would say YouTube is still diamonds. And so you can have less followers on YouTube, but still have much more value, make more money, have a better community, because long form gives depth in a way that short form can never. That was a very extended answer, but that's my answer. What are your thoughts on that?
That was such a good answer, though. It's such a good answer, because I actually agree with all of it, because it is complex, you know. Well, Matt and I have been talking a lot lately about needing to sort of be everywhere, and you sort of identified in a way that we haven't before why that's so valuable, and that's because it's almost like different levels. I don't know. I'm trying to piece this through my head in real time, but I could see it almost being like a little staircase, and you get something, you know, on each step that you can't get on the other one, but they're all important to sort of getting you where you want to go. Because yeah, Instagram is now just TikTok. I mean, I saw iJustine make a tweet complaining about this a couple of months ago, where you open up Instagram and it's just all TikToks Reels. Essentially. Yeah, it's all Reels. It's the whole thing, and that's what Facebook wants now too. But you're right. At the end of the day, at some point you got to eat lunch. And I never understood how people do TikTok and lunch, because I guess they just eat with one hand and then scroll with the other. But to me, it's like YouTube is for lunch. Okay, you got to sit down and like click on a 9-minute video to watch.
Wow, that's a beautiful metaphor. Yes, I'm listening. Continue. It's a beautiful metaphor, because literally whenever I want to eat food, I turn on either YouTube or Netflix. That's why that's so beautiful, because I swear to God, that's hilarious. That's perfect.
We want to help you make something and mean something. And we say that phrase all the time, because when you're making something and you know it means something, even if it's just to you, that's when you feel pretty good about what you're creating. The support for the Create Unknown in recent weeks has been incredible. Animators, artists, musicians, YouTubers, aspiring filmmakers, comedians, it is crazy how talented everybody in this community is. Consider joining the Create Unknown Patreon. Every dollar that comes through goes straight into the podcast and its community. That means more highlights videos. It means a big Minecraft project that's on the way. And eventually we'd like to manufacture custom piss bottles so you never have to leave your battle station. And being a patron unlocks participation in all of our live recordings. You've seen the roster of guests we've had. Having access to their minds is a unique opportunity. You can go to patreon.com/thecreateunknown or click the link that's in the description. Every little bit helps, and your support means absolutely everything to us. Patreon.com/thecreateunknown. Links in the description. We appreciate you, Space Cowboys.
Matt, what were you going to say? What were you going to say when I cut you off?
I don't think I can. I don't think I can say, as I'm thinking about all the different activities with the different platforms, because you're not going to watch Netflix when you're taking a shit.
That's a great point.
That's like a quick short form, like TikTok / Tinder. How many relationships started during bowel movements?
On the
That's
toilet?
my question.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Who got swiped in the middle of it? But no, I mean, there's there are so many boyfriends and girlfriends with that secret that they're never going to tell.
No.
But no, there's something that fits, these different types of content. But, as after we met and I started looking at all of your stuff, what astounds me is you're just, Charity, you're talking about doing, these 11-second videos and these short videos and then longer ones and deep dives. Well, look, your deepest dives are still about things that, like I said in the intro, we've talked about for 2,000 years. So 4 minutes on the Bible, on democracy,
very
on
short,
race,
right?
on gender. Yeah. And so I'm thinking, relatively speaking, those are, a millionth of a second on a topic that's massive. How do you take a topic that's so big, something like democracy, something like gender, and come up with 4 minutes that's useful about it?
I appreciate that question, Matt. Yeah, I actually had a conversation with my sister about a year ago. And it was kind of, we as creatives, we can have imposter syndrome or whatever the fuck. And then I was just like, I don't really have any talents, Nady. And then she was just like, what? And I'm just like, no, I legitimately don't have talent. All I do is regurgitate shit. I read a lot and I learn a lot, and I am an obsessive learner. Obsessive. And side note, I would say part of the reason why I got kicked out of college is because I would be on YouTube all day learning, ironically. But I am an obsessive learner, and I told her that I don't really have a talent because all of these quote unquote educational videos and this content that I create is really just me regurgitating a bunch of shit that I've learned from books all over time and videos and whatever. And then she said, well, that is a talent in and of itself. Your talent is synthesis.
Yeah.
And that just, I had never considered that what I am good at is taking a bunch of disparate information from a bunch of different sources and kind of like squishing it all together and giving it in a way that is digestible. And I didn't even realize that concept is a talent. And I'm also a songwriter and producer. I'm literally in a recording studio right now. And it's just like, even when I make songs, I'm like, well, how would like Frank Ocean approach this if he was in the studio with the Arctic Monkeys and Fergie? And then I just do a song that sounds like Frank Ocean, the Arctic Monkeys, and Fergie's, which is really just a clusterfuck Frankenstein of a bunch of different people. Back to the beginning of this conversation, Kevin, when I said even the way in which I do my videos is kind of like this blend between the snappy, quick speaking that Hank and John Green do, and the very inquisitive kind of vsauce nature. My videos are kind of an amalgamation of both of those. So to answer your question, Matt, I guess we all are developing our talents over our life, and some things just come to us. I didn't even know that I understand how to synthesize. I understand how to take the most meaningful chunks of huge concepts and just kind of give you that little bit that was enough, So even though, like you said, 2,000-year-old conversation, we're not going to talk for 2,000 years, but maybe I can take 2,000 years of study and give it to you in 5 minutes through a synthesis of 20 different sources. So all of my work is the equivalent of research papers, if you will, but just made in a way that's funny, and interesting, because and again, I can't take credit. I am not trying to gas you up, Kevin, but so much of this concept of synthesis and to take a bunch of different tangential subjects and then, oh, and now that we're talking about that, what about this? And notice how these things all relate to this one thing. I literally stole it from vsauce. So y'all already know the answer of how to do this, Matt. I stole it.
Yeah, well, let me gas you up for a second, because I was gonna let you finish before I threw like a red card and just say that I've seen you rap. You have talent. Like, you're very good.
Thank you.
Your music is very good, because a lot of YouTubers also think that they're musicians,
For
and
sure.
some of them are, and some of them are phenomenally talented.
James Marriott's a good example.
Oh, James Marriott is awesome.
Yeah,
we've had
outstanding.
several. I love Rusty Cage's music. Rusty Cage is coming back in a few weeks, by the way. He'll be with us in August. Charity, though, you're like legit. It's like legit. It's not like amateur hour. Like, yeah, I also think that I could do some music. It's like, oh wait, this musician can also make informative YouTube content. It seems like the other way around.
It is the other way around. I've been rapping since I was 9. Again,
all right, there you go.
I found YouTube videos and this whole concept when I was like 20 and I dropped out of college and was depressed. You dig what I'm saying? But I've been rapping since a child. Yeah, no, that was my first love, is music, and it's still my first love. Like, I'm literally, after this, I'm about to. Oh crap, knocking the mic down. But after this, I'm literally about to record a session here in the studios. So, like, for this artist that I'm writing for. So that is still my baby and my primary concern. But I am passionate about this work of speaking to people and explaining things, because I realize that I think that empathy is the most important thing on earth. And I think that empathy is a direct result of understanding. Most of the hatred, again, I talk about these concepts, gender and patriarchy and capitalism. Most of the oppressive forces in this world aren't because people are just inherently pieces of shit, but it's really because they have a lack of understanding. And if I can use my gift of synthesis to broaden understanding, then hopefully that will broaden empathy and thus create a better and more functional world. So that's my purpose.
You know, that's the story. That's the story with your dad. He didn't have the understanding of what you were doing. You broadened that vision, and now he has empathy for what you do. I mean, it's a specific example of exactly what you're talking about. This is not just conceptual stuff. This is pretty much how everybody lives.
Absolutely, Matt.
Yeah, it's amazing to me how many YouTubers have this underlying musical interest, ability, or talent. That's another thing that I almost feel like we should start a list of YouTubers who don't dabble in music, because the percentage is like shockingly high, and I don't know, what the correlation is. Certainly the rhythm, like having that rhythm within you of creating music can be very advantageous and useful when creating a rhythm for
I know you can rap,
video.
Kevin. As fast as you be talking on the videos, I know you can rap.
No.
I know you got bars.
This is a thread we need to pull. We need to get Kevin freestyling right now.
Wait.
Let's go. Let's get it right now.
No, after this, I'll send you my Biggie parodies, and then you'll just hate me for life.
Those were good though.
I'm proud of them, but my rapping is terrible. So what you should do, Charity, is you should steal my lyrics, and then you actually make them good. But
I'm interested.
There was a time.
Yeah, get ready to produce a song about peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and hot dogs.
No.
If I could jump in on that point of stealing, Kevin, if I can, there's a very. I've used the word steal a bunch of times in this conversation, and to anybody who's listening to your podcast, I want to say this. I have chills as I'm about to say this. Steal. There's a book called Steal Like an Artist. And so I very unabashedly and unapologetically say, yes, I stole this from this person, this person, and this person, because what is art if not an amalgamation of all of your inspirations? So I feel like There you go, my nigga. There
You got
you
it
go,
right on the
right there.
shelf.
Yes,
Yeah.
Still Like an Artist. That's a magnificent book. The very concept
It's
of
amazing.
that's all art is, right? There is nothing actually new. Everything is some type of an innovation of something else, right? And again, so much of all the things that y'all talk about at vsauce is curiosity. And when you get and to even answer your other question about why so many YouTubers be rapping and be making music, because I think we're just obsessively curious and creative. And so we need to go all the different places. Let me ask you, Kevin, do you have any interest in any other creative fields?
Oh, all of them. Yeah. So before YouTube was a thing, I did comedy, I did improv comedy, I did a little bit of stand up, I did comics, I did satirical essays. Then I did music.
Yeah.
So I did music for several years, and then I did short films. I did some animation. Then I've been doing YouTube now for a decade, and what I'd really like to do once I have
Working on a book
time
too?
is my book. Yeah. So I have started writing a novel, but I'd like to do that full time eventually.
Beautiful. You're a lover of words, and that's what we all are.
Yes. Yeah,
we love
definitely.
words
and ideas. Yeah, and kind of piecing things together and sort of presenting them in new ways. A long time ago, I decided, because I really love experiencing art as well. I love music. I was obsessed with films for a long time. That's what I went to school for. But at one point, I actually made, like, this sounds weird, but I made a conscious decision to sort of slide the shifter of making things higher than consuming things. So I don't really watch a whole lot of movies anymore. I don't really watch a whole lot of TV shows because literally I made that conscious decision that it's like, I'm going to put more effort into making than consuming. And that was sort of a deal that I made with myself, probably 15 years ago.
Wow. And you've been creating. You've been creating.
Mm-hmm. Charity, I had a question I should have asked you a lot sooner, but what was in your mind when you started on like the traditional college path? Like, what were you trying to do? What were you studying? Where did you see yourself going before all of that changed? So like the thing that didn't work out, what was that?
There's a quote by Mark Twain. Again, I just regurgitate shit. So, but there's a quote by Mark Twain that says, "I'll never let my schooling interfere with my education." And
right. Yeah.
And I, like so many of us, it's like, my parents didn't have money. Neither of them went to college. My sister, who is 11 years older than me, did go to college, and she does have a successful career. The irony is that for years, my sister hated what she did, but what was more important was to not be poor. And my parents, they didn't have money. And so it was just like, do this or be a failure is how it's kind of marketed to you. Again, like college is this thing that's I would even say evangelized to us, and it's just like, if you do not do this, then where is success for you? You dig what I'm saying? And or at least, like I said, a lot in the Black communities, it might be different in other communities where there might be more entrepreneurial tilts. But in the Black community, it's just like, you trying to make it out of here, you better go to college. You dig what I'm saying? And again, maybe the younger people, we think, oh, we can be a rapper or play a sport or something, but still our parents even look at that as unrealistic, even though we know that Black people tend to over-index in music and sports. It's just like, even still, it's like, but no, go to college. So saying all this to say, I was going because what else am I going to do? Am I going to be a failure because I haven't become a success? Again, that's what I was trying to do, was rap. I haven't become a successful rapper yet. So it seems like this is what I got to do. Long story short, I went to college for music business because if I'm going to be in music, at least I should learn the business aspects of it. But because my ultimate goal, this is a huge aside, but it's a related tangent. My ultimate goal is to start a school and completely restructure the way in which human beings are reared. Because I feel like schooling is essentially an obedience programming system that to put us in capitalistic labor force. And I even feel like that's archaic due to technology, and most jobs that are labor intensive are going to be non-existent within the next 7 years. And so there's going to be a necessity for people to actually learn about creativity and innovation and a lot of the things that y'all teach about. And so my ultimate goal is to create a school structure in which people like me can be successful, because I'm literally my whole public facing image is I'm known for being like super smart. And the irony in that is that I almost didn't even graduate high school. I had like one of the lowest GPAs in my entire class. And that doesn't mean that I'm not intelligent, but at the time I was seen as unintelligent. But the reality is that I'm just not fucking good at school and following directions and all of the things that kind of exist in the kind of authoritarian capitalist structure of school, which actually isn't making more intelligent human beings. It is really just raising obedient labor force. And that doesn't expand us at all, which is, again, why I'm such a fan of the work that y'all do, because y'all really teaching something rather than just, y'all are teaching how to think rather than what to think. And that's what I care about.
You know, something that jumps out at me is Kevin and I were the other day going over some analytics, demographics, just, you know, the general stuff in the YouTube studio. And it's such a significant percentage of people who watch these videos are not school aged. They're beyond that. They're older. They're in their 20s. Thinking about why that is pretty interesting, because it's like people are going down the path that, Charity, that you're describing, where it's like, yeah, we want to learn about a thing, we want to think about a thing, which is distinctly different from that system that's in place. Now we're out of that system. We're 20-something, we're adults, we're in our 30s, whatever it is. And now we're finally free to pursue these topics. People actually want that. They enjoy it. And when given the opportunity, they'll do it.
I agree completely.
Yeah, and it also is really important to have, like you said, it's hard to find sort of mentors in the entrepreneurship space. That's for sure, especially as the sort of online creator thing is still really in its infancy. I mean, that was one of the reasons that Matt and I even wanted to begin this podcast, was at least to make some sort of dent in like having useful conversations about what to do when you're trying to live a life like this as an entrepreneur and as an online creator, and starting your own business, and, you know, whatever it is, man, paying your taxes, having health insurance, starting an IRA.
We were having these conversations every day, because it's all the stuff that Kevin just listed, all those nuts and bolts, meat and potatoes things that make up your life. We were having these conversations with each other and with other people, and we're like, hey, a lot of people would benefit from hearing these. Let's do this. Let's hit the record button and do it officially.
Yeah, but you're right. It also can be difficult for highly creative, like capital C creative types, to fit into that mold you're discussing. I mean, I certainly remember when I was in school, it literally wasn't until maybe my second year of college where I started to find a little bit of a groove in terms of being like, oh, like I can excel in these courses that actually reward creativity. Whereas that was never on the table ever in any class that I ever took, all the way from grade school through high school. There wasn't a single class, not one, that I took that rewarded creative thinking. None.
They reward obedience and following directions and memorization, all of which work
memorization, good. Yeah.
They all of these work well in a Horace Mann, you know, his initial ideation of school, which made sense when school was created. The structure that we know now, K through 12, created by Horace Mann during the Industrial Revolution, where a factory job was the thing to do. So yes, get up at this hour, move by the bell. All of these are meant to mimic what it looks like to be in a factory. And so the interesting to be frank, stupidity of the way in which our culture works is that we're obsessed with tradition. So that's the way school has always been. So it's still like this. You get up at this ring bell, you move through that, everybody in a single file line. It doesn't reward creativity, because creativity doesn't work if you're a cog in a labor force. But here's the thing. The labor force is going away. Even Uber, bruh.
Let me ask you this. Why is it so much?
I'm listening.
Why is it so much to ask for me to ask you to sit down for half an hour and listen to me? Why is that too much to ask, like in a classroom setting?
Oh, so you're asking, what is it for me to listen to you
like,
as a teacher?
Yeah. I mean, just in general, like, why is that such a bad thing?
I don't think that lecturing and again, I can listen to people talk for a long time. I really like that. Mm-hmm. So I wouldn't say that it's too much to ask. I don't mind the lecture portion of it. What I mind is the lack of. So there's a book, and I'm getting real socio-political right here, but there's a book called The Pedagogy of the Oppressed. For anyone listening, Pedagogy.
Paulo.
You are the guy. You know all the books.
I am in your mind. I've been in your mind for 10 years. You know
the books, man. We don't even got to talk about it. But for those listening, because you already know what I'm about to say, for those listening, Paulo talks about the fact that, so for anybody listening, I just don't like using big words and people don't know. Pedagogy basically means method of teaching. And oppressed obviously meaning people who are in structures of where they don't have the most resources and because of reasons beyond their control. Anyway, in this book, he explains how our current schooling system works in what he calls the bank deposit method, which they imagine that children are empty containers through which you just pour knowledge in, or you just pour whatever you feel like they need to know inside of them. And that has been, since school has been created, the way in which we rear humans. But that is the direct antithesis, and I would even say an obstacle to creative thinking. And what Paulo says, real teaching should be what he calls revolutionary dialogue, which isn't just throwing stuff into the student, but actually having a conversation with them. And so the cool thing about why a lot of people go to YouTube is because when we make these videos, we don't just make them like a lecture. They're not lectures. They're much more interactive. Even though the audience isn't speaking back to you, Kevin, you are still traveling with them on an exploration through knowledge. It is a thing that accompanies someone, right? They are your passenger as y'all are both exploring some world of knowledge rather than the vessel through which you are pouring your self-bestowed imagining of what is correct inside of them. And I think that's the flaw. There's nothing wrong with listening, but it has to have a much more selfless desire rather than the selfish desire of, I know what's correct, you listen to me, elsewise you're wrong. That is a direct hindrance to creativity.
Yeah, and one thing I would also say real quick about at least in my experience, the struggle, I use that word loosely, I guess the frustration that I had in school was I actually didn't understand that I was good at what I'm good at until I got out of school. There were no mechanisms within the structure of the public school that I went to in any way harness or help me understand that I was good at anything. And I know that sounds kind of ridiculous, but it's true. There were no opportunities for me to sort of explore my own skills, talents, like the things that I was better at than other people.
Absolutely.
There was none of it. It really wasn't until college where there were some classes that I finally took where I could stand out a little bit and sort of be rewarded for my gifts. And that was a really big revelation to me that that never happened in the samey-ism of every single class that I took in public school. It like sort of like Charity, what you're saying, it kind of rewards the same behavior over and over, like regardless of what the subject is. It's the same behavior. It's read this, memorize that, and then write it down. That's what's one skill. There are a lot of other skills that people have that are never explored.
Yeah. There's, there's a similar issue too with the people who the system does work for. I was somebody who functioned extremely well in that system.
Mm-hmm.
I was outstanding, and I'm comfortable saying it, at doing school. However, I never came across people who were like me in the sense that they knew really kind of how my mind worked and like what my background was or anything like that. I was out of school before I met those people. I was extremely lucky to bump into some. And when that happened and I got to know them and they got to know me, and I'm like, oh, there are people who exist that get what I'm about. Well, guess what? Those people are not the ones who were assigned to me to teach, 11th grade English. Like there's a total mismatch there. So it's strange when I look back and on paper, this system is functioning extremely well for me. In reality, it wasn't. Wow. It wasn't helping me. It wasn't developing me at all. And I had the same experience as Kevin in that went to, a different setting and found the people who worked for me. He found the subjects and courses where he could flourish. I found people who could help develop me properly. And so it's crazy when the system doesn't work for somebody, it doesn't work. And when the system works for somebody, it doesn't work. It's a really depressing thing, but you've got to have that extra opportunity. And it is important too, to realize that, we talk about listening for 20 minutes. Well, you're sitting in a class listening to a teacher, and that sucks, but you're watching a YouTube video for 20 minutes and it's awesome. There's something massively different happening there, even though in both cases you are sitting down and listening to somebody. Somehow they are not at all the same thing. They don't do the same thing to your mind, and they're not as valuable. Absolutely. One is clearly more valuable than the other.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, Charity, before we wrap up, what's next? Where can we follow your journey? I know you're in the studio right now. You're making some music. Tell us what we can look forward to from Charity Croft in the future.
I believe in words. Everything that has ever really occurred in this world of value has first started with someone courageously speaking words or writing words that thereby help to shift just even if incrementally in a different direction. And so again, conversations like this are remarkable because there's someone listening who feels inspired, who feels seen, who feels heard, like, wow, I didn't fit in that too. Maybe I can be a creator. Some person who might have existed within the systems that we're speaking about, who now through this very conversation feels some type of intrinsic push that may have been catalyzed by this extrinsic podcast to, wow, maybe I can create, maybe I can do something aside from this expected thing that was given to me. Saying all that to say, my purpose and my desire is to continue to use words to do that, inspire change. We are all limitless. We really are. And most of these limits that we are facing are either self-imposed or societally dictated, both of which we can decide to expand beyond. I'm writing a book about that subject, shameless plug. And whenever that comes out, y'all will know, just follow me, Charity Croff, everywhere, CHARITY CROFF as in Frank. And I'm grateful to try to continue to be a vessel for more beauty to enter the world. And I'm grateful for y'all.
Awesome. Well, it was a pleasure. Accidentally, serendipitously having the universe, stick us in the same Suburban at VidCon, or else, this might not, this hookup might not have happened. So I'm really thankful for that. Real quick shout out to Chinchilla in the chat, who drew a lovely portrait of you. And look, now that you're drawing guest portraits, I might just hold you to doing one every single week. So you just opened up a can of worms that you cannot close. Chintilla, you're gonna have to draw everyone from now on. That is your gift. That is your duty that you need to share with the Discord, with our community. Check out Charity on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. Look forward to the book when that comes out. Let us know, and we'd be happy to share it. We'll be back next week with Psychic Pebbles, so you don't want to miss that. Until then, we are out of here. We'll see you, Space Cowboys.
Thanks for listening to The Create Unknown. We make this show with the support of our patrons. 100% goes directly to keeping episodes going every week, and we've been shocked by all the new support this year. The world's ending and I'm late for work. Gib Tom, Sid Poke, Demetrius, Atrocious Guff. You guys really do make this show happen. Thank you to the Tots and Dumpster crew, old and new, who save tiny little lives every month. And thank you to our grizzled, battle-hardened child infantry. Jen Mefasanti, Kevin Menard, Mikhail Steinke, Risebread, Sean Malone, Triple Question Mark, Ryan, Kamikaze, Maria, Marco Sheep, Tom Videogre, Jeltsies, and Dan the Latch. And a tremendous shout out to our elite Baby Gang commanders, Linus and Trevstead, Boromir, Bot Dogs, Chinchilla, Isaac, Conrad, James, Andrew, Jeff Davis, Patrick Pister, Baseweight, Monahim, Dojangles, and Zero. You really are the elite. Thank you as well to our indentured servants, producer-editor Ben Webster, Discord Savior Latterman, and producer emeritus Dan Yoshua. And thanks to Baseweight for the use of Created in the Unknown for the opening theme, and to Electro Voice for giving us mics to sound good on top of it. The Create Unknown is an Unknown Media production in partnership with Studio 71.